by no negative reason for the community, but the next thing comes up, right? And they move on. And when those kids go to school, they're always looked at as the sick kid. They're kind of not included. So now what we've seen and what this has morphed into is the firefighters are embracing these kids and coming over and spending this time in the community season.
Project Fire Buddies is important to the community for a number of different reasons. Part of what we do is we bring gifts. It goes beyond gifts. It symbolizes hope. We're that bright light in their seemingly dark times. And if we can provide that for them and be that source of inspiration and source of hope for that family, it gets them through those times.
Fire Buddies is important to us because they have always taken care of our Lily in her time of need, from when she's needed special needs equipment like her bike that she rides around the neighborhood, or during a long hospital stay. Our family had delicious dinners for a whole week, and probably the biggest moment of all was when they sent her to the Taylor Swift concert. That was life-changing for her. It was really incredible.
Pretty powerful video. You guys can find that on YouTube if you want to watch a longer version, especially if you need a good cry. We would now like to take this opportunity to present the members of the council with a gift from us at the fire department. Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you.
Please wear these shirts with pride, as these are the uniform shirts that the Merrillville Fire Department wears on every Monday throughout the year. Mondays are just one day of week that we show support and raise awareness for Project Fire Buddies. If anybody here knows anybody who may benefit from this organization, please feel free to grab a flyer on the table outside or visit projectfirebuddies.org. The Merrillville Fire Department will be holding our fundraiser October 25th. It's going to be a Halloween-themed scavenger hunt, so stay tuned for some more information. And thank you all for this time.
Thank you, Tommy.
Mr. President, I have a question for Tommy. Tommy, we gave out free advertising at Lamar for your Casino Royale on April 18th. How'd you guys do?
We did very well. We didn't sell quite as many tickets as we had hoped. However, it is the first year. We plan on doing something very similar, if not the exact same, next year. Illinois has been doing a gala for the last 6 years, and they have just now started selling out tickets in the last 2 years. And as a matter of fact, their gala in February of this year sold out in 35 seconds. That was 800 tickets in 35 seconds.
Okay. Get me the artwork for October. We'll put it back up.
Thank you, Sean.
Mr. Griffin, let's add this topic to our next council workshop to see what we can do. I mean, Town of Merrillville Fire Department is our own fire department. Let's see what the council can do.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, firefighters. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable register voucher approval for June 10th, the ARPA accounts payable register voucher approval for June 10th, the approval of town council meeting minutes of May 26th, the approval of work study meeting minutes of June 4th, the BFS agreement approval for the CCMG program, the approval of labor negotiation task force special committee, and the minutes approval of the ARPA meeting of 12/30/24. Mr. Griffin, we had a couple late additions. You want to explain those, please, to the councilors?
Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. January, town attorney, I thank you for your forbearance. I apologize to you about being dilatory about getting them to you. One of the matters that I'm asking the council to consider this evening is a routine approval of our fiscal advisory services for bond issues with London Witty Group. There is one being presented to the Redevelopment Commission for a bond that they're entertaining. This would be for the general obligation bond that we're still developing to basically do a roof repair here and a variety of other things. We need that steerage for us, please. And also, somehow we did not get the ARPA committee memorandum of meeting proceedings brought to you for December of 2024 for approval. The external auditors are doing a pretty quick review of that, and they need a copy of that that's been approved by you, evidenced by the signature of the president and the clerk treasurer. So we're asking if you will forbear us to have that added to the consent agenda. And although you do have approval of Labor Negotiation Task Force Special Committee, that didn't get formally named in anything in your packet. If you wish to do it here, you may, but you also can take it up, Councilor Pettit, as a member of the Personnel Committee, since our chair is absent, could propose that in the form of a motion, and we can explain why we need this committee as opposed to having any of the existing committees take this matter up. I hope I've been responsive to your question, Mr. President. Is there anything you have to ask of me?
We'll add those without objection, and we'll let Mr. Pettit bring up the task force
Very
later
well.
in the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions or comments on the motion or anything that Mr. Griffin added?
I just wanted to add to the fact about the ARP. We definitely did have this meeting. I think everybody recalls that, and it is important that we get this added to the consent agenda.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hearing no objections, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Do we make a motion?
Do we make a motion?
I don't remember.
Let's do a motion, then we can vote. Mr. Pettit, why don't you make a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Many seconds.
Okay.
Now, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
It's the
Motion's
two
still
corners that are empty that's throwing you off, right?
Yeah. No, he just figures we don't need a motion. It went through the right way, right, Rick?
No, I just got ahead of myself, that's all.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. Moving on tonight to standing committee reports, budget and finance. Counselor Neals or anything? Mr. Griffin's report?
I have been advised by the chair of this committee, she has nothing to offer to the council at this time, but I can take a question if there's a question about the subject matter. I will be seated. Thank you.
Thank you. Street Department, Mrs. Uselak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Talking with the street department today, we have decided Memorial Day to Labor Day, the hours will be 6 to 2 for the summer hours. So with the heat, they will be able to accomplish a lot at 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And 73rd and Whitcomb, the street department has also complained along with me and about 20 other residents on 73rd and Whitcomb. It's nothing but trash where the apartments are. And the garbage trucks will go by and they'll dump the trash or pick up the trash and trash gets dumped. Am I right, Steve? Steve was out there checking it.
Yeah, between that and the furniture and the mattresses and things, it's getting pretty bad again over there.
It is really bad. I would like to recommend, I hope it goes through, that our lawyer send a letter either to the manager or to whoever is in charge. Maybe you could find out, Joe, to let them know that this trash has got to be picked up. It looks really bad for the town of Merrillville as I'm speaking, okay?
We'll do research into it. We'll get a letter sent.
Thank you. And other than that, the street department is still mowing the parks and they're taking care of the bike trail and they're sweeping the streets and picking up all the branches from the storm, the windstorm. And there's still a lot of branches out there. So they are quite busy right now. So thank you, Mr. President. That's my report.
Thank you, Marge. Steve, one thing to add, we need to kind of remind the residents, when you put your branches out there, we're not going to come the next day. There's a schedule. Merrillville's 33 square miles. It's a lot of area to cover, and the trucks work their way north to south, east to west. So please be patient. There's no need to call us. We'll be around to get those picked up as soon as possible.
So especially in Councilwoman Uselak's ward, they were hit pretty hard by the storm a couple weeks ago. We sent both of our, quite a few people in there. They were in there for a long time cleaning. We worked Saturdays in there. Well, after we had left, then people drug out more. Well, then we got to get back to the normal routine.
Yeah.
And get everybody else, because we do have over 18,000 homes in town that we have to get to. So we spent quite a bit of time over.
Plus you
in
worked
March
on
as well.
Saturday too.
Couple Saturdays, yeah.
So I had about like 10 calls a day, and I just told them to be patient. They will get out there. So everything's going along fine. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I had some residents call as well, but I did let them know that you all are making your rounds.
Yeah, we'll run a chipper crew. We run all summer long,
Okay.
not just for the storms. I think we started, 2 years ago, I think. You know, after the spring cleanup, we run a crew all, till the end of August. We'll run them.
I'll let them know. Thank you.
Moving on tonight to council affairs, Councilman Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, at this time, I would like to make a motion to finalize and approve the employment agreement between the town of Merrillville and Michael W. Griffin. This has been vetted. I think the members, we've seen this in our packets. Rick has sent out emails. Rick and Joe have worked on this diligently with Michael. Obviously, it goes without saying how I personally feel about Mr. Griffin. I think he's doing an outstanding job. And I can say that because I walked in those shoes, Rick, as you know, for you and David when he was on the council. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract.
So moved.
You have a motion from Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uszak to approve the town manager contract. Questions or comments from the council?
Go ahead.
Hearing none?
No.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
We are increasing Mr. Michael Griffin's pay, which I don't have a problem with that, our town manager, but we are still waiting to find out when we will get our increase.
Okay. Mr. Griffin, are we increasing your salary from what it was like today?
Mr. President, if this is passed, it will increase it, but it'll still be below what had been planned for 2 years. And I've been reluctant to sign this, as you know, because I'm concerned about everybody getting caught up. We have this other problem that's challenging us, but the budget will support this. It'll still be less in both of the years that are documented in that. And as a matter of when the council may get a raise, Madam Councilwoman, that is a council policy. We'll certainly we'll make it work if the council chooses to go that way. So it's not about, the staff will carry out what the will of the council is on that.
So do we vote on that?
On which?
The council getting an increase in pay. We've been paid.
Yes.
We're the lowest paid town, the lowest paid council besides, what is it? Out there off of the shores.
Chicago, I forget the name of it.
Yeah, but we're the lowest paid, and we put in a lot of work. I know a couple of us council people, we do a lot of work, and the stipend that we are receiving is not enough to help do what we need to do for some of our residents. I, for one, like to do things for my residents, and so I would feel like we need an increase.
Madam Councilwoman, that is a policy question again. That is an appeal you need to make to your colleagues. Making it now won't help. There can't be a change in the existing salary under Indiana law. You could do something for next year, but you can't do anything in the current year under the current terms of the law. And I think one of the things that we're struggling with, you know, is the effects of Senate Bill 1, which is now Public Law 68-2025. I've had conferred with the council president, and it's our intention to bring, Tristan and I are going to work on some solutions or some suggestions to the council, and we're going to present those to the Budget and Finance Committee. My hope is they will make a recommendation to the full council that will inform the process of the budget that we're going to prepare this year for next year, and we can take that matter up then. I will tell you that there is light at the end of the tunnel, even in the existing law, if we can make it until 2028. However, we have to take a cut this year, and they accumulate, by the way, of $838,000, that's next year, $950,000 the year after that, and $1.3 million the year after that. So that's about just about $2.5 million that we're going to have to make up. Now, that third year, we're supposed to be able to have an income tax. The other intervening variable we expect is that there's been a lot of pushback on the legislature for how that law got drafted and how much it impacts people. So my hope is that either in a special session or more likely the short session that begins in January, they may take steps to change those outlier years. I just don't know how we get there before we have a chance to pass the tax. Those 3 years will be difficult for us to make. Having said that, it is always appropriate for the councilors to have the conversation among themselves about the compensation of the council. And as I said, we'll advise you on resources, but if you decide that's what you want, we'll make that happen for you. But it's really, I'm not in a position to offer guidance on, I can tell you how the process works, but it's really, that's so innate to the policymaking of the council. It really needs to be discussed among you and your colleagues.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And, Mr. President, Shauna, the reason that we're the lowest paid in Lake County is we have not, I in particular, have not had a raise in 22 years on the council, ever since I got on the council in 2004.
What year?
2004. We
And
haven't had a
I
raise
think-
in 22 years.
I think,
Whatever the makeup, the other counselors that were with me and,
well,
no one's
from
had a
what-
raise.
What I hear, the salary is the same from the 90s,
Yes.
1990.
It might be
correct,
when
Rick?
Archie,
Yes.
Rick was here then.
I don't know.
But there was never a raise to the council, and I understand what Sean is saying, but somebody should look into it and try to do something. We give everybody in the town a 3% raise, so maybe something should be done for the council. Our job doesn't stop. We take calls all day and we're out there, and I think Shauna brought up a good point, my opinion.
Any other questions about the
Yes.
actual contract? Griffin contract?
Sure. So, and this is nothing against Mr. Griffith, who is highly qualified. My concern is Senate Bill 1. The town has certainly got some budget uncertainties and incurring a significant amount of debt, increasing salaries without having to address what the budget concerns are. I just don't think it's a wise move until we actually have some certainty projecting what we're going to get in revenue and what our expenses are. I just budgetarily, there are a lot of, budgetarily is not a good deal. We'll end up eating into some fund balance that we should be using for reserves. And then in addition to that, just the timing of it. When you consider that most people at best are getting a 3% raise, and we're talking about a 33% raise. That's a big difference. And I think that we really need to be concerned about the optics of it when considering the whole town as a whole, the firefighters, the police officers, everybody in the administration. We've got people that work in the courts that have been working in the courts, if I'm not mistaken, for probably close to 15 or 20 years and making $30,000. You can't support a family on that. The council members making what they make, 17 to, I believe, you get an extra stipend being the town president. But the amount that they're actually making in comparison to other towns and what they're just making in general for the work that they're doing is completely undervalued. So I would just like to see some equity. So it's two things, the budget and the fact that we should do something for everybody and not just one person.
Well, it is called public service for a reason. You're giving service.
Correct.
We all knew what the salaries were when we ran for office. They haven't changed. Yours was posted, the council's was posted. So if you ran for this office to make money, make income, you're in the wrong business.
Nobody's.
And I haven't
I'm just
mentioned
saying.
me.
It's my turn to
Right.
talk.
Sure.
That's my comment.
Sure, correct. I haven't mentioned me in terms of salary. I didn't run for money. As a clerk treasurer, if you were to compare my salary, if we want to compare to other clerk treasurers, I'm probably the lowest, and we have the largest town in Lake County.
And many of those other ones that make more money work full-time in that position, and you don't.
I don't know what they do. And I do work every single day,
Okay.
every single
Any
day.
other questions on the contract? We're
Right.
getting off topic here.
We're on the
This is on
topic.
topic.
The topic is a motion by Mr. Pettit to approve the contract for the town manager, which has been pending for months. We need to move this forward.
I think we should have talked about it behind closed doors first.
We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
What will his salary be now with the raise?
Mr. Griffin?
It's 100 more.
I beg the council's pardon. I
guys
know what I
had
had
your
proposed for you. It would put me at a six-figure, it would be comparable to what the town manager in Chesterton makes in the first year, but it wouldn't be the same because I'm not going to go backwards except the current pay period. And I don't know what it is going to be in 2026 as a biweekly salary. I honestly don't know. And Mr. President, members of the council, we do need to have an agreement with me because it's required in the code governing the town manager. You basically have given all the powers state law allows for a town manager to have, and you can modify those on the basis of the agreement. Both the agreement I had when I was still interim that expired, and this agreement proposed to give me those powers again. So, in fact, I got coached on this from the town attorney. Actually, some months ago, he asked me, what are you doing with this? We need to do it because the code requires it. If there is reservations about the compensation, all I can tell you is that's a policy question, and if you don't want to go forward with it, that's certainly your call. But I do believe it is still below market for the position based on the study we had. And secondly, it has been supported in the 2024 and the 2025 budget. We just never moved forward with it until now because of the need to get the contract in place and the decision to try to compensate me more like the regular manager as opposed to interim. But if there are still reservations about that philosophically, that is a policy question that the council is welcome to still take up. You can strike out those pays and say that that's not going to be the deal. But I do think the council has to take up an agreement of some kind simply because it is a requirement in your code. We've kind of skated it for a time. And in terms of the concerns that the clerk treasurer raised, nobody cares more about the budgetary sustainability than I do. Maybe as much as the clerk treasurer, but nobody more. And I care about it. And I would not offer, part of my delay was about how it would appear, but not about whether it would be sustainable. And I'm confident of that. We do have to come back and make some recommendations about how we're going to get through at least 2026 with Senate Bill 1. But none of the other issues, I think, impinge on that. And I know of identified and funded positions that we've kept vacant on purpose because of our general concerns about our budgetary sustainability. And that's how I know that this won't interfere with the ability of us to pay anybody here. But I don't know how much more I can inform your deliberation on that.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
What's the number of salary?
110,000.
I don't think that's right the first year, but maybe.
No,
I thought it was
101
106.
the first year, 110
Got it.
in the second.
Got it. So it's 100 and what the first year?
101,000
There it is.
the first year, 110 starting in 26.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess, so to be clear, Michael, are you saying that we can move forward with the agreement part and delay the monetary portion of this contract?
Mr. President?
Go ahead.
Madam Councilwoman, you put me in a very awkward position. I'm not acquisitive, but I absolutely would like to be compensated fairly for the position and the background and training that I bring. Having said all that, if there's not readiness for the agreement at all, just don't take it up.
Okay.
But there's nothing that would stop I feel like I'm giving lessons that are against my interest, which is so bad. But you could make a motion on the strength of what was told to you tendentiously, I believe, about the contents of that agreement, that you could say that we approve everything but the salary to be dealt with later. I hope you don't, but you certainly would be within your lawful authority if you get a second and a majority of you, 4 of you, at least agree to that, then you could take it up. The other way to do it is to say that you've got concerns about that. If anything I've said hasn't assuaged your concerns, I don't know what else I could do, but we could basically take it up in a work study session and delay it. I just know that I have put this off for longer than you have because of my concerns that were raised. I'm satisfied there's not an issue of sustainability about it. And I do want to comply with Section 2182, Subdivision B of the Municipal Code of Merrillville. But you put me in an awkward position. I come to you as a professional, servant-hearted leader, as I try to be every day. And if it's always awkward to talk about compensation in the public, but as a public servant, that's the job. I do believe it's sustainable, and I don't believe it's out of line whatsoever. Having said that, if there is reservations and there's not 4 of you who agree that it should move forward, then the council certainly has it's within their power and their discretion to delay it if they wish. I hope you don't. I hope you don't modify it. But if that's your choice, we certainly can have that conversation.
Okay.
I hope I've been respectful in my tone and my response to you.
Yes.
And I do believe it's not out of line again, but that's up to the council, I understand.
Mr. Pettit, would you consider just tabling your motion?
Yeah, I guess.
That's fine. Mrs. Uselak, your second stamp.
If you so
Make a motion to
request.
table the town manager
Obviously,
contract.
more discussion is needed on this, so we'll take it up and hash it out in a work study session, okay? Mr. Griffin, we will get back to you, though, for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. President, I thank you.
We need a vote on the table, Mr. President?
Yeah, Mr. January, call the roll to table.
Sure, Mr. President. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes,
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye,
5 in favor.
thank you. Anything else, Mr. Pettit, on other council affairs?
No.
Moving on to personnel, policy, and employee benefits. Mr. Griffin, anything to report from Ms. Hardaway?
Mr. President, members of the council, I also spoke with the chair. She anticipated, because of a personal commitment, that she would not be here tonight, just as the vice president did. She said she had nothing further to report to you at this time.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I think you wanted me to add a motion.
Yep.
I move that the town council members be named agents and serve as a collective bargaining task force to conduct negotiations with the FOP.
A motion by Mr. Pettit,
Second.
second by Counselor Shi. Mr. Griffin, why are we doing this, please?
Mr. President, members of council, this is, after I conferred with the town attorney about it, is advisable. There's a special provision for school boards to negotiate under the Open Meeting Act and allow them to some discretion about meeting without having to have an immediate report coming out. For bodies like yours, you can't use existing committees because they're bound by the Open Meeting Act to have notice and have a memorandum or a minutes projected of it. And that's not typical with collective bargaining. There is a provision in the definition section that allows for this if you expressly make an appointment for the sole purpose of collective bargaining. And so that has to be on the record for the committee to do the work it does. They'll have a public report when they're done, but it allows them the kind of variability and flexibility that's necessary in these kinds of things that the law recognizes. It just is in the definition section of the Open Meeting Act. So we're using the term of art agent or agents because that's in the statute. But if you want to make the full council the agents, that's fine. And any two of you then can go ahead or more, and continue the communication with the Fraternal Order of Police.
Thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Griffin, would you please let the FOP know
Will
our
do.
actions tonight? Thank you. Environmental Affairs, Mrs. Uselak.
yes, thank you, Mr. President. I will refer this to Matt Lake. Matt, I believe all the ponds have been cleaned in the town of Merrillville through the stormwater, am I correct?
The ones that the town owns, correct, yes.
Okay, is there anything else that they have to do?
We do have some modifications going on. I'll elaborate on my report. Sedona, we're converting to a dry basin. Some others we're modifying for safety reasons. So as we've been acquiring those parcels, we've been making improvements, and we add them to our list of parcels
Okay,
that we
in
need.
Ward 1, Bonnier Lake.
Yes.
What did they put in that lake or pond?
Oh, that was tilapia. We've been doing that for a number of years now. This is a natural mechanism by which to control algae. And so we have tilapia released. They do not overwinter, so you have to re-release new tilapia every year and introduce them. It's been a boom for the wildlife in that area. We also do a non-toxic dye called shade, which decreases the amount of light penetrating, so it also reduces algae growth. Since we've done that regime, it's been incredible out there in terms of the amount of reduction in algae. And so it's been a really good thing from an environmental standpoint and from an effective standpoint. And the cost is the same as chemical treatment, so we used to use different types of treatment measures that were, I would consider probably not good for the environment, so copper sulfates and things like that. So, and this is kind of the new trend now. And so the results of that trend are that tilapia becoming in high demand. So every year we renew and try to get on the list each year. So it becomes more of an ongoing battle to try and get the tilapia. But
Well, they used to have fish in that pond in Bonnier,
There's
Bonnier Lake? Do they still
great,
have fish
it's
there?
amazing fishing right now. The bass have
Okay.
thrived because, again, the tilapia not only do they eat the algae, but things eat the tilapia as well, so there's a bit of a balance. By the
So
time
the
they,
chemicals have not killed the fish?
we're not adding any chemicals to the water.
Well, whatever you put in.
The
What you
non-toxic
described.
dye, there's a dye called, this a non-toxic dye that we added, but we don't do any toxic chemicals in the water whatsoever as part of our treatment regime.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Move on to economic development, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, we have a couple of ordinances and a resolution. Our bond counsel is here in the audience, as well as our financial advisor. We'll take those up under general orders.
Yes, sir. Utility liaison?
No
Council-
report.
Thank you. Mr. Pettit, Parks, Recreation, and the Dean and Barbara White Community Center.
I am going to defer to Mr. McCartney for any updates. We had a committee meeting back at the end of May, right, Jerry? One of the items that we talked about in the workshop that we're still discussing is what to do with what was referred to as Union Park. Some people might know it as Merrillville Lumber, that is in the control of the town, along with the yellow and blue building, which is affectionately referred to as Moe's. The RDC bought that building 2 years ago, Joe?
Not quite.
At least 2 years ago. Sheila and Angie have had an interest from a developer to buy all that property from us. It had been earmarked under a previous administration. Councilman Minchuk wanted to develop the dog park there. I believe the dog park is in the new 5-year Park and Recreation Master Plan. We talked about putting it on the backside of the building here on the Madison Street. I think that's the biggest thing, Jerry. I'm probably missing a couple of other small things we talked about. Oh, obviously the park board. I'd be remiss if I did not bring up the creation of the park board. Jerry, do you want to elaborate on some of those?
Yes, so the putting the park board into place, will do a lot for the Parks and Recreation Department. The only other than the dog park that you brought up, which I haven't seen any movement on that since our meeting in May, the only movement on the topics we talked about in May has been with ICC floors. They came in a little high with their quote. Core Construction said it was high as well. So ICC is working to work that down, maybe some different materials to see what that costs. And then Core also suggested getting a couple different quotes from other companies as well. So floors, and then a few other little things going around the facility, but nothing major since our last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Michael and Jerry, I've got a conflict on the fourth Thursday here in June. I'll get with both of you and we'll figure out when to have the committee meeting. Maybe the first, I hate to do it the night before the 4th of July parade. You guys are going to be swamped, so we'll have to figure out when the committee needs to get together, Jerry, okay?
All right.
That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Oh, I have one comment for
Mrs. Uzzon.
Jerry. On August 1st of this year, the daycare center from the 4th Ward will be coming into Rosenbaum Park. They have a party there for the kids every year, okay? So mark your calendar on that.
Will do.
Well, it is a party.
It is a party.
Yeah.
Will there be cake?
Pardon?
Will there be cake?
Yes, I think so.
And punch.
Cake and pop. Ice cream.
Make a note. Moving on tonight to special committees, abandoned and blighted properties. Counselor Shi.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a total, for the month of May, we had a total of 522 calls, 62 warnings were issued, and 20 tickets were issued. They are doing a great job now that spring has sprung and summer is on its way. So we are asking our residents to continue to try not to violate any codes, so you won't get these tickets issued to you. The warnings are great, but try to stay on top of your yard and your cars and the way you upkeep your house. That would be great, and that is all for my report.
Would you mind also taking the topic of the special town projects since Counselor Neal's out tonight?
Oh, wow. Great. Sure thing, Mr. President. We are getting ready for our 4th of July celebration. That will be July 4th. The parade will start on 80th Place. We will start a silent parade for those who have sensitive ears or just don't want to hear the sirens of the parade. Once we hit Broadway, then that's when the sound of the parade will come back into effect, and we will come all the way down to the, is it still Mike Anderson, Dean and Barbara White Center? That is where we will end the parade. Right after that, we will go directly into Hidden Lake Park, where the festivities will take place from 2 o'clock to 10 p.m. and with a fireworks show. Cars, there is a charge for cars, $10 at the gate. There is a charge for walk-ins as well. I believe it's $5. And we just look forward to a nice family event, fun-filled day for the 4th of July. We are excited about that. There will be no Juneteenth celebration for the town of Merrillville this go-round. We will get back into that next year. And I think that is just about it. Oh, coming up in July, we will be doing the job fair. Comes to the Dean and Barbara White Community Center as well. And that is it from my report.
Thank you very much. The Semi-Quincentennial Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. June 21st, I will be reaching out, before June 21st, I will be reaching out to residents and all who are interested on being on that committee with myself, Leona Chandler Felton, and Rhonda Neal. We want our residents to be involved. Mr. Michael Griffith, our town manager, is also helping. And we want this special occasion to be the best that it can be. So we're going to start working on that as we get our committee members together and get this project underway so that we will be prepared for it when it comes. So I will reach out social media through our social, I don't see him, through our social media person, Chaz Riley. We will put that out so that our residents will know when that's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to department and commission reports, stormwater management resources. Anything to add, Mr. Lake?
Yeah, just a few things. We started a project at Fillmore Boulevard. This is around 66. It's the entire boulevard. We're regrading the entire bottom with the channel there in order to get the flow to drain better through there. And Delta 3 is going to be done with that actually later this week. In tandem with that, we got the spoils from that project that we're adding to the Sedona, small detention pond Sedona, to convert it into a dry basin so it's easier to maintain and mow. Because right now the grading is off in that pond and it's a little dangerous to try to maintain. So we're kind of knocking out two projects with one effort there. Hickory Ridge, the project's almost done. We're consolidating now at a 56 in Grant, where majority of the work is being done there. And once that's done, we'll get, we've been submitting reimbursements to Little Cal for that as well. So we've got one more reimbursement to submit, and then we'll have half the project paid for through the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission. We already mentioned the tilapia release. They're acclimating to their new home there for the summertime. And like I said, the wildlife is booming out there. There's been a number of sightings of bald eagles, osprey, things like that. So I think we're sharing some pictures with Chaz with the bald eagles and stuff out there. So it's good to see the wildlife bouncing back and thriving out there. Also, we're having kind of an issue in the agricultural areas of town with grindings being added to the ditches for just access by farmers. There is a way to permit with that, so we've sent out a number of NOVs with respects to that. So we've gotten a pretty good response from the property owners, so that we'll get those permitted, and they'll have to have culverts and things like that, so you can't just dump grindings in the ditch and expect to utilize it that way. And so with regards to Kaiser Ditch, I did reach out to Lake County Surveyor. We're awaiting his response back. The last time they did full maintenance out there was in 2013, so I looked it up. We had some coordination going on because we did some stabilization of where we outlet water into Kaiser Ditch in several locations. So we covered that part of the project, so we did stuff in partnership with them at that time, and there was a newspaper article on that. And and then Taney Ditch, I'm lining up contractors to do the maintenance on that for this year. And with regards to the apple orchards, there's apples on the trees. They're about quarter size. And so this fall we'll have apples to pick. And signage is going up there from the U.S. Forest Service. I've been working with Jerry on that. And so I hope the residents will utilize those orchards for their benefit. That's all.
That's great, thank you.
Matt, are you saying Mr. Emerson is going to meet with you and clean Taney Place ditch?
He's gonna let me know when the full maintenance is gonna be done, if it's gonna be scheduled this year or next year, or when it's gonna be scheduled. So I'll let you know exactly when that will be. Because last time they did it was about $300,000, and that was back in 2013, so it's probably doubled by now. So in terms of what it takes, because when they go through there with full maintenance,
Right.
they do slope stabilization, they grub the banks, they take as much of the woody vegetation they're allowed to, because they get through IDM permitting as well. They do washouts, they stabilize those, they remove the sediment, so they channel dip
Sure.
bottom to remove the sediment accumulation over years, things like that. So it's dramatically different when they come through there with the full maintenance as opposed to a little spot maintenance here and there.
Well, I'm glad he got a hold of you. I called him myself because I've had several phone calls about Kaiser Ditch and Taney Place Ditch, so
Yep.
maybe something will progress. I
Yeah,
hope.
yeah, Taney will definitely be done this year.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. January, Clerk Treasurer's report.
Sure. All right, for the month that ended May, we just sent out the fund report for everybody. But at the end of May, we had $40,318,908.57 in the bank, divided between the court, fire department, general, police department, and all of the different departments. We also received just recently another $143,462 check and 50 cents for the food and beverage tax. That fund presently has $1,770,261.38. And we had 111 businesses pay into this food and beverage tax in the prior month, in April. They're a month behind right now. And at the beginning, which has gone a long way, initially we only had 33 businesses participate, so we're up to 111 now. And I'll have some more detail on that at the next meeting. We also received a riverboat distribution. I think this is, I don't recall for the previous year, but we had $8,505 related to a riverboat, and we don't even have a river. We do have a river running through the town. But we did get some money regarding that. Payroll, our payroll for the month was $952,147.02. We had 234 employees. In terms of businesses, we had 1,143 licensed businesses. And one of the things Councilwoman Haynes Edwards mentioned about fines, we have about 241 businesses that had their businesses license rescinded. And of those, some of them are pretty notable, and they need to pay to get renewed. But a lot of these businesses need to be purged. Some of them need to be purged from the list. But if we were just to collect that 241, the fees from the 241, assuming they're all collectible, that would be $54,000. That could pay for somebody's salary increase for the year. And I was thinking that among the council people, something that would be pretty generous. Maybe we can get some of these people to pay because there's a penalty involved with people not paying on time. Maybe we offered them some sort of amnesty program for people that are just perennially delinquent. If we gave them, hey, if you do this by this day, the late fees are forgiven, and you don't have to do it. And that's a way for the town to actually bring people into compliance and show that we're also business friendly at the same time. So, but that concludes my report for today.
Let's get that idea on the workshop too, our next workshop.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Griffin?
I have a question for Mr. Griffin.
Mark?
Michael, there are still a couple restaurants out there that are not charging the F&B tax, food and beverage. So the last time you and I talked, you were going to send a letter downstate. Did anything come out of that?
Mr.
That
President,
sounds good.
permission
Go
to
ahead.
respond? Madam Councilwoman, we did not, I hope I didn't lead you to believe we were going to send something downstate. I apologize if I did. Our intention is actually present a reminder to those businesses. I have your list still for those restaurants, some of which on their own are complying, but we're going to go back through and we're going to go specifically to those restaurants. We actually prepared a packet that we're going to give to everybody that the first thing it says conspicuously on the envelope is important tax information, so that we remind them of that. We will copy that to the Department of Revenue in the hopes that then they'll follow up, because they really
That's
are
what
the
I meant.
enforcement arm. But that hasn't been done yet, but we do, it's not going to be undone. We do intend to do that. But a couple of the restaurants you gave us are actually in compliance.
Oh, they are now? Okay, because a couple of them are not, that I know. I just ate there the other day.
May I
Stop
ask,
eating there, Marge.
I beg your
I go out to
pardon,
eat all the
as a
time, so I
colloquy,
checked
how do you know they're not paying? Did they aggregate the,
Well, they usually put it on your receipt. When you pay, it
sometimes they
shows the
don't,
tax or
yeah.
or
They're
whatever.
supposed to discreetly show it, but they could combine it in some cases because of software limitations.
No, I
So,
didn't see that.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
How much did you spend, Marge? Maybe you owe us some money.
I won't say.
1%, you owe us 1%.
1%.
Excellent.
It adds up, though.
Yes, it does.
Moving on, Parks and Recreation, so Jerry? your
Yes,
report?
hopefully I have more facility updates. There's a lot in the works right now for the June 24th meeting, but for now, I'm going to talk about some programs. The Daddy-Daughter Dance is this Friday, so I really want to push that out there. We have 8 couples signed up right now, but I'd like to have more to make it worth its while. Garden Club, as we've discussed at Rosenbaum, we've been reworking the idea around how we make that happen and make it sustainable so it can continue. It's live on Rec Desk right now to sign up for anyone who's interested in participating in that program. Since we're past kind of the planning season, we're looking at putting up maybe some infrastructure or doing some classes around gardening at the Eden Barbara White Center until next spring, when we can really give it our full effort instead of trying to throw something together and then it folding. So that's live on Rec Desk right now if you're interested in signing up or you're interested in getting involved with the Rosenbaum Community Garden. We're going to start with meetings at the Dean and Barbara White Center, and then we'll go from there. That way we can organize everything. Both of those are on merrillvilleparks.recdesk.com to get signed up. I also wanted to give a shout out to Chris Geiger. Obviously, he's not here tonight, but he's our recreation coordinator, and all of his hard work that he's been doing since I've been here and since he's been here, I believe in October, is kind of coming to fruition right now. Specifically today, I was able to get out to Hidden Lake to see what football practice looked like as their season's about to start, and then basketball season already started, I believe, last weekend. But they're both practicing at the same time today. And I was able to spend some time with the staff that are working with those leagues and the volunteers and the parents that are all involved. It's pretty amazing to see just from my angle. I've ran leagues like that before with boys and girls clubs and simultaneously with city parks and rec leagues. And it's not easy to do, especially by himself. And he really did it all by himself, built it from the ground up. He's even pulling staff from areas that they didn't necessarily sign up for it. And he's got everyone on board, and it's very cool to see. So if you haven't come out to see that operation, I encourage you to. So I want to make sure he gets his flowers in that essence, because I'm impressed. Personally, I thought we were going to be operating those leagues at a lower scale with what we have as far as personnel goes, and he's doing a great job. So very cool to see, and that's a start. This was supposed to be a pilot program, so it's only uphill from here, or downhill, I guess. But so yeah, other than that, as Matt said, the apple orchard signage is going up here in the next week. or two. So excited about that as well. I don't think I have anything else, but hopefully more facility updates next meeting.
I have a question for you, Jerry.
Yes.
If you do not get your numbers that you're looking for the father-daughter dance, will you reschedule it?
Yeah, so we first talked about pulling the plug, but I do not want to. So I will push it back this summer at some point. But I'm confident this week we can push it a little bit and at least double what we have right now, and that would be pretty substantial. It's in one of the event center rooms, so it's not a large space to fill. But we have Mike Neal is going to be our DJ, and we're going to have some snacks and food for everyone. But I'd really like to get the community out there, and we've been looking at different ways to get everything out, and I feel like we have a communication barrier with our marketing and advertising, so we've been exploring all the ways. I've talked with Chaz about potential opportunities in increasing the exposure we have, because we have a lot of cool stuff going on at the center, but we got to get people involved and out there, because the community asked for it, and we're providing it, so I want to make sure everyone knows that what they asked for is available now. So.
Okay, and then regarding the basketball and flag football that you just gave Chris his flowers for, we are appreciative of what he has brought to the table, but I do believe that this was a group effort that we started with Ross Township, not Chris by himself, and myself as well, along with you. So we don't want to leave anybody out. We want to thank Trustee Blackman for allowing us to use Hidden Lake as well for the flag football while our spot was being utilized. So we just want to make sure that nobody gets left out.
100%, and I know that came up with this being the first week, and I think Chris has been running around putting stuff together with like the orders and the small tasks that we may have forgot to thank those who have helped out on the bigger scale of providing some facilities and also the exposure as well. So I'm following up with that this week. But yeah, so Chris has done a great job, but Ross Township has been awesome as well, and Councilwoman Shi on top of that, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Police Department, Chief Nusis.
Thank you, Mr. President. So for the month of May, we had 2,681 calls for service. What that equals to is a total of 4,959 officer responses. We did 182 extra patrols, 153 premise checks, and we had 10 community policing assignments. There were 393 traffic stops, which resulted in a total of 450 tickets. There was 106 adult arrests and 8 juvenile arrests. Also, I wanted to take a moment to speak directly to our residents about a concern that's been coming up frequently as traffic issues, especially speeding in various parts of town. I recently came across some comments on social media suggesting that the police department and the town leadership doesn't care about these issues. I want to assure everybody that this couldn't be further from the truth. We are very aware of the traffic concerns in Merrillville. In fact, I receive calls nearly every day from town council members, town managers, and even Chaz Riley sometimes. So it's one of those deals where we receive these calls and we are addressing them. Our officers, our council members, and even town leadership are all paying attention and working together to address these problems. We've identified 23 areas throughout the town where speeding and other traffic issues are most common. In response, we've been rotating officers through these hotspots with extra assignments to increase visibility and enforcement. That said, I want to provide a little context about our current resources. On average, we have about 7 officers working per shift. These officers respond to a wide range of calls. As my May report indicated, there were over 4,900 officer responses, which means they're constantly balancing traffic enforcement with other critical responsibilities. Still, we recognize that traffic safety remains a priority. That's why we are actively moving forward with plans to launch a dedicated traffic unit, which we expect to be up and running by mid to late summer. This unit would allow us to better focus our efforts on speeding and traffic violations throughout Merrillville. And like I said, I want to thank everybody for their continued support, your concerns, and your partnership. We do hear you. We see the problem, and we're committed to doing everything we can to make our streets safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Planning and Building Department, Sheila Shine.
I don't have any comments at this time. I will later in the meeting.
Of course. Mr. King, anything else to add from Street
So,
Department?
so a couple things. To piggyback on Chief Nusis about speeding, we've got speed humps out all over town. We've exhausted what we have. They're all placed on the ground. You'd be amazed at the residents that don't want them. There's as many who don't want them that do want them. Now we're running into issues where there's an area we're going to have to remove them because what people are doing is they're driving around speed humps through people's yards, and the residents don't want them there anymore. So these things are put in to protect every citizen of the town of Merrillville, especially the children. And when you're driving through people's yards, just so you don't have to slow down, to me, that's not acceptable. So that's what I want to say about the speed humps and the speeding. Also, planting, we're about 99% done with the planting all over town. Our group has worked very hard to get this done. As you drive through town, you see the plants we planted. Most of them were grown by us. We saved the town a tremendous amount of money this year by doing that, and everything has gone well. And other than that, on top of what Marge said, that's all I have.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Griffin, anything else to add under Town Manager's report?
Mr. President, no. Unless there's a question about what I've written to you, I'm pleased to be seated.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Moving on tonight to general orders, we have first reading ordinances, ordinance 25-14. It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 16 of the Merrillville Municipal Code, modifying the Town Board of Metropolitan Police Commissioners pursuant to Indiana Code 36-8-2-2 and related matters.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uszak for approval. This came to us as a request through the FOP to modify how the Police Commission is made up. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure, Mr. President. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uszak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor.
5 in favor, motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 25-18. It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the Merrillville Municipal Code, modifying study its bylaws, making further clarifying language to meetings, duties of the town council, and related matters.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Uszak with a second by Councilor Shi for approval on first reading of ordinance 25-18. Mr. Griffin, is this just simply clean up some of our dated language that we had?
Mr. President, that's the intention of the language. It's also going to revisit names of some of the committees. Depending on what happens on second reading with the Park Department, we'll have to revisit some of this anyway with regard to committees that had jurisdiction over that as subcommittees of the council. But that's it. It's essentially a cleanup and modernizing section of your bylaws.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the council? No. Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call.
Sure, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uszak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor.
5 in favor, the motion carries on first reading. Moving on tonight to 25-19, it's an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville appropriating the proceeds of bonds of the Merrillville Redevelopment Authority, including investment earnings thereon and related matters.
So moved.
Second.
A motion, Mrs. Uszak, second by Mr. Pettit for approval of ordinance 25-19. Mr. Pettit, you want to enlighten us on this?
I will defer to either Adam or Bob Swentz on this. The Redevelopment Authority, which is myself, Mrs. Neal, Vice President Neal, and Mrs. Uszak, have passed. This is the large bond issue that will fund the fire station, the Whitcomb Street improvement, and the additional local road and street paving. Adam?
Hi, Adam.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Adam Sturwald, Barnes and Thornburg, bond counsel for the town. Councilman Pettit stole my thunder. That was perfect.
He does that a lot.
Yeah. Happy to answer any further questions. This is just first reading. There'll be a public hearing at your next meeting for adoption.
Who's going to pay for the bond payment? That's always a good question.
So it's a lease financing from the Redevelopment Commission to the Redevelopment Authority. There'll be TIF used to pay debt service. There'll be a property tax backup for security and for marketability of the bonds.
Any questions or comments to Adam?
Well, my question is not necessarily directed to Mr. Adam, but you said the key thing is that these bonds are going to be paid for with TIF funds. And in light of SB 1, I view TIF funds as a stopgap measure, something that we can use to fund potential police officers because you can pay for first responders out of that. And if we did that, we could probably rejigger the budget so that we can still maintain our current operations, maybe even give some people some raises with some of that extra TIF money. But if we obligate that money to debt service, that's money that we won't be able to use to pay people. I'd rather pay people than pay debt.
I don't think it's going to deplete our entire TIF accounts.
No, it won't.
Yeah, I like to see the projections on that.
Okay.
And I can speak with you, Bob, about that, but that is my concern, because I'm thinking forward about when we don't have this money that we are accustomed to using because the tax law has changed. We need to figure out where that money is going to come from, and it may have to come from places that we probably wouldn't have considered before.
Well, and I will certainly share the TIF projections with you. We have those. We'll need to provide to bond counsel as well, so we can go over those. In terms of SB 1 and the unknown, Legislative Services Agency, who probably knows the best about how to make these projections going forward, I don't think your TIF funds are going to be hurt at all. In fact, they are showing some increases in those revenues. So hopefully we can sit down and go through those and satisfy you as to what's going on.
Right. And I agree with you.
And additionally, Eric and Bob, we're going to have debt fall off. The Mississippi Street TIF bond is going to die in January 26, correct? We make
have
our last payment?
A couple TIF bonds that will be coming off in the next 5 years, but Mississippi Street most recently.
Right. So this debt service payment will basically take over for what's being retired out of Mississippi Street, Ameriplex at the Crossroads, those smaller bonds.
Yes, and we have a number of projects out there that haven't been fully assessed. We have abatement roll-off. So again, Eric, we can go through those and talk about what those projections look like.
Sure, and thank you, Bob. And because I certainly agree, I think the TIF is strong. It's just the town is going to be weak. We may need to lean on what's strong.
I think the town may
Any
be
other
better off than you
discussion?
think.
Hearing none, roll call, please. January.
Sure. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor.
5 in favor, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on tonight to ordinance 25-20. This is the ordinance to restore and appropriate undersignified unreserved cash on deposit to the Corporation General Fund to accounts in the Municipal Court Department for cost as yet unplanned by the department. The proposed amount is $204,428. With the additions on the back page, the total fund is $242,846. Mr. January, do you know about this, what we're doing?
Let me get to it. 25, 20.
I believe this is going to fund the courts because we only funded the
Yeah.
courts for the first quarter of the year.
Yeah, in
Is that right?
fact, yes, that's exactly what it is. I had to get to it. The courts, some of their line items are basically down to zero because they have been adjusting the money so they can pay all of their employees. And this is basically just going to fund the court for the balance of the year, if not mistaken. And then next year, they'll be incorporated into the budget, and we won't have to do this.
I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, seconded by Leona for approval. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Eric, roll call, please.
Sure. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor.
5 in favor, the motion carries. Moving on tonight to second reading ordinances, we have ordinance 25-12. It's an ordinance to amend chapters 13.5 of the Town of Merrillville, Indiana, to establish a Parks and Recreation Department pursuant to Indiana Code 36-10-3, et cetera. This is what Mr. Pettit was referring to earlier in the meeting.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval on second reading, ordinance 25-12. Questions or comments from the council? Anything else to add, Mr. Griffin?
Mr. President, if you pass and adopt this evening, it was one of the recommendations that Mr. McCartney and I had presented to the council. You remember when you first interviewed me back in September of 2023, I suggested that we needed to think about this. This can provide resources we don't have now to help maintain and do the upgrades of the parks that have been called for in some of the surveys that we've gotten. It also will restructure things. The role of the council as the park authority will change. Your responsibility for setting the number of employees, your responsibility for setting the size of the budget, your responsibility for approving any borrowing that they do under their powers to borrow will all be intact. But we had this conversation also when we first discussed this. This could be an opportunity for us to extend more participation in the governance of our parks. We're getting big enough that now we need to have that regular resource to allow the staff to report to this body, which will have responsibility for maintaining the staff and selecting new staff, subject to the budget and the authorization of the council with regard to the number. This is a tool I think Merrillville is ready for. I have to say, you've done a remarkable job just as a park authority, not having the added ability to do the capital acquisition necessary to upgrade the parks, but you've done that at some sacrifice to using that same money for the things that the civil government needed. So my hope is that for all the reasons we discussed before, the council will favor this. It won't be immediately effective because you'll have to start the process if you pass this evening of searching for the 4 citizen members that get appointed to this board. I think that will take some time, at least 30 days, if not more, to get people acquainted with this. So in the interim, you'll still rely on the council as the park authority. You'll have the Dean and Barbara White Community Center and Park Committee to be meeting to sort of give guidance to that staff. But I'm looking forward to be able to address Mr. McCartney, not as Parks and Recreation Director, but as Parks and Recreation Superintendent, which is what this law requires. This law is designed from a 1965 promulgated law nationwide recommended by the National Commission on Laws for Parks and Recreation. Indiana adopted it roughly about the same time and made it available to local governments. And I'm glad that this has been favored and considered by the council. I hope that they will continue to favor it with your vote this evening favoring adoption.
Thank you, Michael. I like it because we can get more residents involved. This will be a separate board appointed by the council, and we can have input from more residents as far as what's going on with the park department. It eases some of the pressure on the council, as was brought up tonight. We have plenty to do all the time. This is a huge town, and to get some help on our parks and recreation programs will be a nice help.
Well, the important thing, I think, Rick, is that it's going to give a mechanism to the park board, bonding capacity outside the town and our rating, where we just finished the 5-year Park and Recreation Master Plan, we just finished the Park Impact Fee Ordinance and are charging more for a lot of the development, like Randy Hall and Liberty Estates. But the projects that Tagi has identified, like the dog park, the park board will be able to bond, and the debt service will be paid for by the food and beverage tax. If we don't start spending that money, General Assembly is going to look at us and say, why are you collecting all this money and you're not using it for park and recreation and economic development and tourism? So we better start getting on this and getting some projects, big projects, that we can start implementing. Am I right, Joe?
Correct.
So it's great that we've got $1.7 million in the food and beverage, but if we're not spending it and using it, it's just sitting there gaining interest, of course. But you're gonna have to, someone's gonna question us at some point.
Yep, absolutely.
We gotta get those other restaurants on, Margie.
I'm trying.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Is there any public comment on this ordinance, 25-12? Seeing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure, Mr. President. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor.
5 in favor, the motion carries on second.
Mr. President, at this time, if I could, I'd like to, I don't know if I need a motion, Joe, or not, that we have letters of interest from the residents due in the town manager's office by close of business July 31st. If you are interested in being on the park board, please submit those to Mr. Griffin's office. And the Dean and Barbara White Community Center Committee, I guess, or maybe the entire council will look at those letters of interest in the month of August and make the determination who the 4 citizens will be. So do I need a motion? That's my motion.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Uselak to advertise for the park board, the new park board openings. Let's add to it to have Chaz, our communications manager, get something on the website explaining what this board's going to do, what the duties are, qualifications, et cetera. Mr. Griffin, you can help with that.
And we are only taking 4 members?
Yes.
That is correct.
To start out, yep. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries, Mr. Pettit.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on tonight to resolutions, we have a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville, Indiana, approving a lease between the Town of Merrillville Redevelopment Authority and the Town of Merrillville Redevelopment Commission, and addressing other matters related thereto. Mr. Pettit.
Again, Mr. President, this is something that it looks like the council is going to execute on the recommendation of bond counsel and the setup for the lease payback from the RDA and the Redevelopment Commission on the $33 million bond issue.
Quit taking Adam's thunder.
I'm sorry, Adam, you walked all that way up there. He drove from Indy, too. That's even
Let
worse.
him talk. Let the guy talk.
Adam Sturwell, Barnes and Thornburg. So this is a resolution approving the lease between the Redevelopment Authority, Redevelopment Commission. The Redevelopment Authority has already met and approved it. If it is approved here tonight with this resolution, the Redevelopment Commission will have a public hearing at their next meeting, and after that public hearing will be up for final approval and then execution.
Anything to add, Bob? What about Bob?
Again, these lease payments will be made with tax increment revenues generated from the various allocation areas. And again, Mr. January, we'll go through those.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the council?
Mr. President, I do want to give an attaboy to our town attorney on one of the projects that's in this bond issue, the $33 million bond issue. We have targeted $15 million for the Southside Fire Station, and with Joe's diligence, he obtained appraisals, and the property owner at Polycon Industries has graciously agreed to donate the 6 acres where the fire station will be. Joe's finalizing that agreement with his attorney, so that will save us $200,000, Joe?
Oh, no, probably at least 600 to 800,000
600 to 800,000 in land.
in land acquisition alone.
That's awesome. Good news. We should get an appropriate thank you letter.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2522.
Second.
A motion to approve Resolution 2522, second by Chandler Felton. Any comments from the council? This is a resolution, a simple voice vote's fine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on tonight to BZA and large gathering actions. I'll call on Sheila Shine to guide us through this. Ms. Shine.
So, Mr. President, the first petitioner that we have on there is To Me for Health. They're the petitioner and owner of the property located at 8560 Broadway, and they came before the Board of Zoning Appeals to allow a crematorium in a C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District. Unless you say otherwise, I would ask that I omit reading the staff report and ask the council to reject the favorable approval that the Board of Zoning Appeals gave, and also to waive Article 6, Section 6 of the reapplication process and allow the petitioner to put another application in, put another legal notice in the newspaper that would read crematorium, funeral services, and visitation. The Section 6 and Article 6, Section 6 says that they have to wait 1 year to apply again, and I would ask the council to waive that 1 year and allow them to apply again.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation from the Planning and Building Administrator. Again, we talked about this in our workshop on the 4th. Joe was present, as was the petitioner. I think everyone's in agreement, correct, Joe?
Correct.
I'm sorry I missed that meeting. Can you explain something about this for the public too?
They had filed only for a crematorium, and it was brought to our attention that they would also have visitation services, and possibly
Like a wake, funeral home?
something like
Okay.
that. And so
licensed, too.
we felt it was appropriate to have them come back and be more specific. Sheila, I believe the director of the Indiana Funeral Home Association came to the BZA, is
Came
that
to the
correct?
BZA meeting and wanted to make sure that they used the state laws, and he gave the petitioner, myself, and the attorney that was present a list of the state laws. So it was some variations about sitting at the window that they had for the residents that are here. They were saying that that was not a visitation, it was just saying goodbye. So to get rid of all of that and make sure that we're following the guidelines of the state, we would ask the petitioner to come back and say crematorium, funeral services, and visitation.
And the reason for that, Margie, is that there was a, with just crematorium, they would only be allowed to bring the bodies in
Yeah.
and cremate them from other funeral homes. They would not be allowed to have someone walk in off the street and buy that service or visit or, you know.
Will they do embalming before the cremation?
That's always, yes.
Yeah, they
Pardon?
have to by
Yes.
state.
They have to by state law.
Oh,
There's-
that
they had a
is
whole-
state law to do that?
Yes.
Where did they attend school? These people?
The petitioners are actually doctors.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is what they do, take care of patients, and they would like to see more crematoriums because it gives a easier time for people who can't afford it. It also gives an easier time for burials.
This is basically just cleaning up the description,
Yeah.
the business description of what they're doing.
It's really
Instead of
adding to the description, really.
Cleaning it up.
Yeah.
While adding to it and making sure it's clarified.
Okay.
Sheila, also, wasn't it something about a license?
No, they were always willing, the petitioner was always willing to get licensed.
Okay,
But by ordinance or the Board of Zoning Appeals, we need to be very specific in what we approve and what we bring to the council. So we wanted to be very specific on what we approve, just in case any of the council members or our town manager was approached by others asking what was approved. So we wanted to be very specific in that approval.
I second
Where
Sharon's
do they
motion.
go to school for this?
So
I know at one time,
there,
the funeral directors from Indiana went to Warsaw in Chicago. So that was the closest. That's why I'm wondering, where are they going now?
So there's a procedure, Councilwoman Uzelak, that they go in order to prepare the body from the take-in all the way until the crematory process. I have a copy of that step-by-step that I can provide to you,
Okay.
that they have to follow, But the lady in the meeting and her husband, they're both doctors, and they explain the process. And it goes from the freezer, to 48 hours, the people was
Yes,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
48 hours, and then after that, it goes through the crematory process. And there's no way that the bodies could get mixed up because the tag stays right on the toe all the way into the process. But I have a step-by-step that I can provide for you.
Okay, I understand the process. Did you mention that they acquired a license through Indiana?
They have to before they start the
Sure.
process.
Okay.
And Marge, to answer your question, Dr. Auguste, is that how you say his name?
Auguste.
He went to IMMC Rush in Chicago, where he got his license.
Chicago,
Yes,
okay.
and then his wife, I don't, it doesn't say, she did the same thing. So she went to the same school.
Okay,
So they're
very
both
good.
certified.
They're both
Because I
certified.
know for a fact they did not have any type of prep school here in Indiana.
Yes, you are
for
correct.
that. They were going to Warsham in Illinois at one time. Now you tell me Rush, which is good.
Okay.
That answers my question. Thank you.
I have one last question.
Leona?
You mentioned, Sheila, something about requesting to waiver the year.
So in
Are
the,
we gonna-
in the Board of Zoning Appeals rules and regulations, if this body denies something, they have to wait 1 year before they apply again. So I'm here this evening asking you all to waive that and allow them to apply again and be on the agenda for June.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And the
So I didn't-
BZA
I
will
didn't
do
know
that as well.
what, it was supposed to be another waiting period, maybe 2 months, 3 months, or something like that.
No, not if this waives it and then waive that, and then we will go, the first thing that I would do is ask the Board of Zoning Appeals to also waive that.
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right.
It's actually, we're going to waive Article 6, Section 6.
Yes.
And just by waiving it, it can be done at any time then. So
Okay.
the next meeting will be later in June.
Okay.
So, just for clarification's sake, it's gonna be a motion to deny this petition, but with a waiver that they can apply immediately and reform or re-clarify their business processes or their business ask so that they can come under the June agenda for the BZA. So they'll be reapplying with a clarified business purpose.
Perfect. Thank you.
And that was Sean, and I think Leona, you seconded that, right?
I did.
Shauna did.
No, I think you seconded it after
Leona.
we did
Oh,
it.
she did it first?
Yeah.
Leona did.
I did.
Any other discussion?
None.
Mr. January, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor.
Motion is rejected, or that petitioner, I should say. Sheila?
With the waiver.
Right,
With the waiver.
of course.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. President, our next petitioner is going to be Jason Moorhead from Landmark Sign, representing St. Sava Serbian Orthodox Church. He is requesting a variance of use at 9191 Mississippi for a LED message center. Petitioner is requesting a variance of use approval from Section 21-189-8 to insert an LED message center on an existing sign in the A1 Agricultural Zoning District. The 2 feet by 11 feet LED message center will be inserted at the bottom of the existing sign. Petitioner states that there is nothing around that existing sign to impact the community negatively. Petitioner also states that it is an improvement to an existing sign that will be a better image of the church in the community. And the petitioner will advertise for town events when requested.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of this petitioner for the LED sign.
Mr. President, this is, St. Sava's is obviously in my ward, literally down the street from my subdivision. And I do want to thank, if there are church members here, Jason, thank them again. They helped us out with Mississippi Street widening. They were very cooperative with this particular sign, moving this sign when we widened the road. So very appreciative of that. And I drive by the sign every day going to work. I don't have a problem with it.
And you will still be having the picnic this year?
I believe it's, there are some members, and I believe
They're
it's
not canceling the-
1st of August.
No, first weekend in August, Margie.
I go every year. Okay.
I think you're hungry, Marge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about food and beverage and.
Any other discussion or questions for this petitioner? I don't see a problem. Thank you, sir. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Aye.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes.
5 in favor.
5 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you. Have a good
you.
evening.
We'll see you at the picnic. Ms. Shine.
So our last petitioner is Nidra Treadwell. The owners of the is KS Edgewell GK, and she is asking for special exception approval at 6049 Broadway to allow an indoor dog park. Nidra, can you step to the podium? Petitioner is requesting special exception approval for an indoor dog park in the C2 Community Commercial Zoning District. Petitioner Nidra Treadwell seeks to open Pafucci's at 6049 Broadway. Pafucci's will be a designated spot where dogs can play, run, and interact with other dogs in a controlled environment. Pafucci's will offer soft flooring, agility equipment, and a park-like setting. This dog park will cater to all dogs of all sizes. Rules of the park will be prominently displayed. Attendance will be available on the floor. Ample seating will be offered for Pafucci's in the park floor. Ample seating will be offered for patrons of the park. Comprehensive cleaning of the park will take place daily. Petitioner submits that Pafucci's will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare, and is in accordance with the comprehensive plan. The owner is responsible for the outside walkway. Additionally, the owner will provide waste receptacles and pay all utilities. The address is at the end unit, which will allow ample parking for patrons and their pets. There will be 5 employees, 3 full-time employees that will work from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., the part-time employees. Dog waste will be picked up by owners. Assistance is provided for more detailed cleanups. Restocking of all supplies such as poop bags and hand sanitizer will be done to keep the indoor park clean and organized. The outside will also be kept clean and neat. There will be a soundproof wall on the shared tenant wall, and this is for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only. And Mr. President, there were 1 absent, and 4 of the members approved this. And Councilwoman Keisha Hardaway is also aware of this petitioner.
Pleasure of the council.
What is the charge for an individual to come in there with the dog for?
I have currently, and hello, everyone.
Hi.
Pardon?
I currently have it set at a $5 per pet, not per person, animal, entry. I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna take it up. I've been doing some research on it, and I think it's more feasible to go with a $10 entry fee.
Okay, you're talking about $10 for the hours that you're opened?
Yes,
Okay, that's for 1 dog.
yes, per dog.
Okay, if they come in with 2 dogs, they're gonna pay 20.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Hello.
Hi.
So I have a couple of questions. Pafucci's, what is that? Where'd you come up with that name? Is that a dog?
It is. It's pronounced Pafushis.
Pafushi?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is a play on my fur babies' names.
Okay.
I had three dogs. Two of them have passed. Actually, one passed 2 weeks ago. But the names are Passion is the P-A, Foofy is the Foo, and Chico is the Chi. So it's a play on their names, Pafuchis. I had them. The one that passed 2 weeks ago was 16 years old, and they were my inspiration for this. So, yeah.
And then it says that you have the park rules, and so, you have a lot of nice things in here. What would happen if a dog was to come in and chew up or tear up your equipment? What's gonna happen with that resident? Are they gonna say, I didn't know my dog was gonna do it, and then you're out of?
Right, that's a good question. The park rules will state that the owners are responsible for their pets, even if dog fights are to break out or things like that. It's just like with an outdoor park. I heard him mention that the dog park, there's gonna be an outdoor one. The owners are responsible for their pets. As far as anything on the premises, as far as tearing it up, we have allowance to repair things, and I wouldn't, if it's natural wear and tear, I wouldn't pursue the owners. But if it's something deliberate and obvious that may have been a result of their animal behaving poorly or badly, we do plan to have info stated that they may incur a fee or a ban from the facility.
Okay, and then you said there's, human and dog food treats are prohibited. Are you going to supply like dog treats and
Yes,
things for
we're gonna have a barkery, is what we call it, a dog bakery. And yeah, we will provide a sale of Pafuchi dog treats, which I've been making, by the way, since 2016. I've been selling them at flea markets, but that kind of folded, or it did fold, with COVID. 2019, 2020, it all stopped. But I used to sell and home bake dog treats, and we will continue to offer that to the patrons.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Is there a limit on the dogs, number of dogs that can be in there? If you said it, I didn't hear it. Is there a limit as far as
You know what?
footage?
We had mentioned it, but it really depends. I'd have to know what code enforcement tells me, and I would abide by it. But the space is 6,000 square feet.
Oh.
So it's a large facility.
Yeah.
Whatever they tell me, I'll definitely abide by it.
Any other questions or comments?
What's the, I'm sorry. That's a lot of dogs. What are we doing for the smell? You must have an extensive air freshener, cleaning,
Yes, all cleaning. We have a protocol set. Just like with an outdoor dog park, the patrons are responsible for the waste. We have the dog bags, hand sanitizer, a full cleaning, Bissell cleaners to clean up wet spills, we'll call them. But as far as the poop, the owners pick it up, get it to the receptacles. We will be, throughout the day, emptying those. And we do spot clean and dry towel wipe so that there's no slips or falls.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Do you request that the dogs have their shots before they come in?
Not at this time, but we do want in the future to offer doggy daycare services where those things will be mandatory.
Okay, you will offer it later, but with them all coming in at one time, you might have a sick dog and not know it.
We do check them when they come in, but not to the point we're not veterinarians. It would be just like at an outdoor dog park. We leave that, and we do in the signage. It does say like no sick animals allowed, but that's kind of open to interpretation by the owner at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion, counselors?
Keisha, you said this is in Ms. Hardaway's ward, and was at the BZA?
She wasn't at the BZA, but I emailed her the entire petition.
And her response was?
Thank you, I got it.
Okay,
She
I
did-
guess that's polite.
Just to answer the question, she didn't have any questions about it, and she didn't say that it was something that she did not want.
And were there any remonstrators at the BZA?
No.
No, okay. Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve. Do we have a number on this? I guess not. To approve the indoor dog park.
That's good enough.
Second.
We're all on the same page here now.
Z.
Leona, second?
Yes.
We would hate to say something and Keisha was against it.
That's why I wanted to double check and see what her thoughts were in her ward.
She did not indicate that she would be against it. No.
Any questions on the motion, counselors? Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor.
Congratulations and good luck now.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mr. President, we have one large gathering.
Dogs out.
We have one large gathering application this evening, and it is for St. Elijah Serbian Orthodox Cathedral located at 8700 Taft Street, and they are seeking their large gathering. This event will be held Saturday, July 19th, 2025, from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., and Sunday, July 20th, 2025, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. The event is held to raise funds for the church. Approximately 300 to 500 are expected to attend daily. The event will be held solely outside as the hall will be closed. There will be 575 parking spaces available and accessible from paved public streets. Drinking water will be available for all attendees, plus faucets and spigots. There will be 5 male toilets facilities and 6 female toilet facilities, which will be maintained by Bruce Septic. There will also be 3 dumpsters and 10 to 12 trash containers on site. Those will be maintained by Ileana Disposal. There will be no camping or overnight stays. Entertainment will be provided by 1 tambourine band and 1 3-person band both days. Alcohol will be served at this event. The petitioner has supplied the amusement and entertainment permit as well as their liquor and catering licenses. Security will be provided by Centuria Security Agency.
Thank you, Sheila.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Uselak with a second by Mr. Pettit for approval. I think we do this festival
year.
each year, don't we?
Every year, right.
Chief, has there ever been problems there? There's a large crowd, but it's always
If
behaved.
there's ever been any problem.
I got married there.
Did you really?
Okay.
Sure did.
Any other questions or comments? Summertime festivals are here, so.
Yep.
Mr. Jeremy, roll call, please.
Sure, Mr. President. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor.
5 in favor, motion carries. Moving on tonight to public comment. If you'd like to make a comment, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we allow 3 minutes.
Hello again. I'm Jennifer Lukowski, 9382 Shelby Lane, Crown Point, Indiana. I come to you to apologize. As many of you, as you know, I have been battling with the school system for my child. I am coming to you, thank you, Councilman Shi. She did come to the last school board meeting. I am trying to find my way for my child. I have been slandered, defamation of my character, all because I went live, because I want people to see the truth. You all have seen it. Councilwoman she got to see my daughter. You know, the one thing I've not done was say anything about money, right? But I'm asking any of you, this coming school board meeting, please come and stand with me. Please do not stand behind me. It is not a fight that's over. And I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. I don't know which way to go. I have filed every complaint throughout the entire school year. I have filed with the IDOE, the OCR, the IDR, and now I've taken it a step further. I will not stop. My child, like I said, is not the only medically fragile child. A lot of families are afraid, and we are a town, right? We are a team. It takes a village to raise our children, correct? So I'm asking you, at the next school board, can we please join together? Please stand with me, and not behind me, but with me. With my child, Sophia O'Reilly, who is 7 years old and deserves it as much as any other child in this entire town, anywhere, correct? I'm pleading with you, I'm begging. I know I came really hard at you guys in the beginning. I'm broken. I have been accused of being under the influence by Merrillville staff. I have been saying that I am the reason my child has been not allowed to be going to the school. Mr. Suggs has verbally attacked me on 2 different accounts with multiple witnesses available. 3 of them were at the high school when he called my cell phone, and I was in the main office, and one of the higher-ups had to take me into his office after hearing the conversation. The other one was with my daughter and a fellow coworker who heard the communication back and forth and heard how he was talking. I'm begging. Please don't allow me to walk this walk by myself. We're a town. We're a village.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good evening. Thank you for the time for me to address the council. My name is Donna Reddix, and I live at 540 West 56th Avenue in Merrillville. My house is on the corner of 56th Avenue and 55th Lane. I have voiced my concerns over the last 4 years regarding a fall hazard on 55th Lane. The sidewalk is cracked, and the water company has those covers there. They're exposed. The sidewalk is sinking, and I have come to the office here. I've called my council person. I've gone to the Merrillville Street Department for several years, and I keep being told that there is no budget for concrete repairs. In addition, the water company has come out and they said that there's no issue with no leaks or anything. The second issue is the trees on 55th Lane were removed, which we really appreciated that. However, there is one big tree that was taken out, but the roots were not grounded. No one ever came back and cleaned that up. And in addition to the sidewalk sinking, the sidewalk where that big tree was, it's raised up because of the, I guess, the tree limbs that are underneath. It's gonna be a bad accident. The children, they come by, they ride their bicycles. I keep my lawn done, and it's hard for me sometimes because it's a fall risk, and just wish that someone would consider coming out again. They've come out several times and looked, and they said, yeah, we understand that there's a problem, but we don't have the budget. But I see that there's things that are being done in Merrillville, but this is really a problem for the neighborhood, for my house, for the children, for my neighbors. And I would appreciate if someone could please at least look at it again so that the city or the town doesn't have any liability because someone has gotten hurt. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Steve?
Brian Nussart, 68th Place. I'd like to share some thoughts on the pay. Mr. Griffin was very reticent to give the salary number, but I would like to point out that we should consider we get what we pay for, and sometimes we get a lot more than what we're actually paying for. And I think as a town, we need to start considering finding ways and mechanisms to pay our people and our staff better. The police and the fire, they're always doing an awesome job, but there's people who work in the office like Linda and in Sheila's office and in the other offices, the Parks Department. We really need to start lavishing a little bit more pay on our people so that we are always attracting the best and the brightest, and we're retaining the best and the brightest. And so we should never be shy, and sometimes it is awkward to talk about these things, but Councilwoman, she is correct. You know, even the council people should be able to be compensated a little bit for their time. A lot of you put a lot of time in, so we should start thinking about the people behind the number and starting to compensate well for, you know, what we do. We are Indiana's largest town. We should start, you know, thinking about doing better things. I appreciate hearing about the fire station going forward. And I especially like hearing about the Parks Board and having another opportunity for residents to be involved and push our community forward. That's what we really need. We need opportunities for the residents to take ownership and help you guys out. So big kudos to you guys. Thank you. Thanks to Steve King for the branch pickups. I know you guys have been out there, so make sure your people know that we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Kimberly K. Collins, and I live on West 59th Place. I actually had not intended to speak today, but I am definitely compelled to after the first resident got up to speak. Is your name Jennifer? Okay, so I just know her as Nina Davis because that's what she uses on social media. And I just wanted to set the record straight. First and foremost, I will say, as always, I am speaking for myself, as Kimberly Collins, as a resident of Merrillville, as well as a taxpayer. And my concern, as I feel the need to speak because, in my opinion, Ms. Jennifer, also known as Nina Davis, credibility is pretty much shot because of different things that she said publicly on social media, specifically that Merrillville community page. And I was, in fact, accused by Ms. Davis as being a representative of Merrillville schools, which is not true. What she referenced when she stood here and said that she was accused of being under the influence by a school employee was not accurate. What she was referring to was a comment that I, in fact, made after seeing the comments that she made on that very same page bashing our school district, which I think is phenomenal, bashing our leadership with the school district, and it just seemed to be a little far-fetched to me. So my question was, when she was talking about being made to leave, and just based on my experience as in law enforcement of 20-plus years, my question was what her actions or her behavior, how that may have attributed to what happened, and if she was asked to leave. And I asked the question, was it an issue with her being impaired, if she was under the influence of anything of that nature? So I wanted to make sure that that was clarified. And again, the information that she was posted, I had to in fact tell her to stop tagging me because she wanted to reference my ignorance, which I am not. I actually hold 3 degrees, and I am very intelligent. I asked a question for a reason.
Kimberly, address the council, please.
Okay, I just wanted, okay. So she had a comment over here, so I was just going to address it. But I just wanted to make sure that that record was clear. Of course, all of you know that there, of course, are always 2 sides to every story.
Yes, ma'am.
And before there, and it always, it's unfortunate when oftentimes people use social media in a way to basically get people stirred up. There were over 100 comments on this feeding into the information that she was provided, a lot of which was in fact inaccurate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Helene Perro, 7860 Wright Street, Foxmore subdivision. So we've been having people dumping furniture as you enter off of 30 on Morton Street. And I know Councilman Uselak brought up Whitcomb Street. But I've called, according to your website, it says call Waste Management, but they won't pick it up if it's not at a physical address. So I'm wondering if there's any other recourse our subdivision has. So, and also, I'm wondering how I can find out about who owns the property coming in that used to be, I guess, the parking lot of the what was it called, the Broadmoor Golf Course or something prior to our subdivision coming in there. Because that's not being maintained. I don't know if code enforcement is going, writing to these people. When I looked on, or I had a real estate agent help me with it, it looked like this company is out of Illinois, so maybe they don't even come to Merrillville to look at the property and maintain it. But I don't know if the town has something where, you know, we can get this furniture picked up.
Calls on what you're talking about. And that's why I brought up tonight about all the trash that's being left in that area.
Yeah, but you mentioned Whitcomb. This is coming in on Morton
Yeah,
Street.
you're coming in on Morton through Crescent Lake, correct? Isn't that your subdivision?
No, we're coming in off Morton and
Oh, you're coming
30.
in off of 30?
Yeah,
Route 30?
Morton Street.
Oh, Foxmore, yeah, because Morton runs through
Yes,
Crescent.
but is there a available resource through the town that either we could have somebody load it up in their truck and bring it? I don't know. I'm just looking.
I don't know.
It's just really making our subdivision look terrible.
Yeah, so can I address this real quick?
August Manor.
So this was actually brought to my attention this afternoon by code enforcement that there was a couch on the property.
Okay.
Once the photograph got to me from code enforcement, somebody, whoever it was, took that couch and drug it out on Morton Street. We found that out later on this afternoon.
Yeah, and there was an organ too, I believe.
Organ?
An old
I didn't know
dilapidated.
about
Somebody
the
just
organ.
left an organ there.
Well, if it's in the roadway now, we've got to go pick it up. We'll get it first thing in the morning, but we were made aware of it late this afternoon that it's in the road, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. For announcements tonight, at Town Council meeting, next one is June 24th at 6:30. The RDC meeting is also the same date at 6 o'clock. The 4th of July parade starting 11 o'clock going south down Broadway from 79th. The job fair, as mentioned tonight, is July 30th from 11:30 to 2:30 at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center.
What parking lot is that, where they start with
parade?
They're starting at the Greek church and going down 80th, right?
Okay, they're going from the Greek church down north, going.
No, going to Broadway and then north.
Okay, but it is in the parking lot of the Greek church, correct?
That's just the staging area.
That's where we're meeting.
That's where we'll meet.
Right, right.
Thank you.
I'll meet you there, Margie.
Does anybody have a Snickers bar for Mrs.?
Bring me a turkey
Candy.
sandwich,
She's gonna
Marge.
have to go buy some candy at Gordon's.
Lunch is on Sean.
I always bring
Plus the
my
food
own
and beverage
candy.
I bring my own candy.
With no objection, I'll
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Parades forever.
Yes, we have.